Some tunnels are just shortcuts, others feel like a mistake the moment you enter. A narrow road vanishes into a mountain. The light behind you disappears, the walls close in, your phone loses signal, and suddenly, the only choice is to keep going deeper. Today, we're counting down the top 9 scariest tunnels in the world you should never enter. Stay until number 1, because the final tunnel runs under a river, traps drivers inside a concrete tube, and triggers one of humanity's oldest fears, being buried beneath water with no way out. Before we begin, tell us in the comments which scares you more: haunted tunnels, mountain tunnels, or underwater tunnels. Number 9. Guoliang Tunnel, China. This tunnel was not built by machines. It was carved by villagers into the side of a cliff. The tunnel has jagged windows punched through the rock, revealing a valley hundreds of feet below. There are no comforting city lights, no wide shoulders, and no real sense that a mistake would be forgiven. A car squeezes through the uneven passage. The headlights scrape across raw stone. Outside the openings, the cliff drops away like the edge of the world. The Guoliang Tunnel is about 1.2 kilometers long and was carved into the Taihang Mountains of China. In the 1970s, villagers who were isolated from the outside world decided to create their own access route through the mountain. They did it with basic tools, determination, and terrifyingly little room for error. That is what makes this tunnel feel so unreal. It is not just scary because of where it is. It is scary because of how it came into existence. Human hands cutting a road into a vertical cliff face, one section at a time. The tunnel is narrow, uneven, poorly forgiving, and barely comfortable for passing vehicles. In bad weather, the surface can become slippery, and the openings along the cliffside remind drivers exactly how far they could fall. The tunnel is often described as a road that does not tolerate mistakes. That phrase sounds dramatic, but here, it feels painfully accurate. Meet another vehicle at the wrong bend, misjudge the road edge, or lose control on a slick surface, and the scenery outside the window becomes the danger itself. But Guoliang scares you with open air and cliffs. The next tunnel scares people because it feels like the mountain never ends. From a cliffside road in China, we move to Norway, where a tunnel turns, driving into a psychological endurance test. Number 8. Lærdal Tunnel, Norway. This is the longest road tunnel in the world, and that fact alone is enough to make some drivers panic before they even enter. The entrance looks normal at first, a clean road disappearing into a dark opening in the mountain. Then the outside world vanishes. For miles, there is nothing but pavement, rock walls, artificial lights, and the steady hum of your own engine. The tunnel stretches on and on until distance begins to feel distorted. Every few miles, strange blue and yellow-lit caverns appear, glowing like something from another planet. They were designed to calm drivers, but for some people, they only make the tunnel feel more unreal. The Lærdal Tunnel runs for more than 15 miles through the mountains of Norway. Driving through it can take nearly half an hour, with no natural daylight and no easy way to simply step out into fresh air. Engineers understood the psychological danger of such a long, repetitive tunnel. Drivers can experience tunnel hypnosis, a state where the brain becomes dulled by the same visual pattern for too long. To fight this, designers added large illuminated caverns that break up the monotony. The idea was smart, but the experience is still unsettling. You are sealed inside a mountain, with rock above you, rock beside you, and a road that seems to stretch into forever. There is no normal sense of progress inside. You cannot judge distance the way you do outside. You cannot see the sky. You cannot see the landscape changing. For nervous drivers, the glowing caverns do not feel like relief. They feel like checkpoints in a long underground dream. Lærdal Tunnel is an engineering marvel and an important transportation route. It helps people cross difficult terrain without dangerous mountain roads. But it also proves something strange. Even when a tunnel is safe, the human mind may still rebel against the feeling of being trapped inside the earth. But a long tunnel can be frightening even when nothing goes wrong. The next one became infamous because something did go wrong. and the tunnel turned into an oven. From Norway's psychological tunnel, we move beneath the Alps, where one fire changed tunnel safety forever. Number 7. Mont Blanc Tunnel, France and Italy. This tunnel is terrifying not because of legend, but because of history. In 1999, it became the scene of one of the deadliest tunnel fires in modern memory. Picture a long concrete passage running beneath the Alps, connecting France and Italy under one of Europe's most famous mountain ranges. Cars and trucks move through the enclosed road. The walls are close. The ceiling is low. There is no open sky, no quick escape to the side, and no simple way to outrun smoke if the air turns toxic. Now imagine a vehicle catching fire deep inside that space. The tunnel becomes a chimney. Smoke fills the air. Heat has nowhere to go. The Mont Blanc Tunnel stretches about 7.2 miles under the Alps. It is a critical route between France and Italy, but its name is permanently tied to the 1999 disaster. A truck carrying flour and margarine caught fire inside the tunnel. What sounded like ordinary cargo became part of a deadly chain of events. The enclosed tunnel trapped smoke and heat, and temperatures reportedly reached terrifying levels. 39 people died. That tragedy exposed how dangerous tunnel fires can be. In open air, smoke can rise and disperse. Inside a tunnel, smoke can move like a wall, cutting off visibility and oxygen. After the disaster, the tunnel received major safety upgrades, including fireproof shelters, improved ventilation, and advanced monitoring. But the most frightening part remains psychological. Every safety system exists because people learned what can happen when fire breaks out underground. The victims of the Mont Blanc fire turned this tunnel from a route of convenience into a permanent warning. Today, every driver who knows the story enters with a different awareness. The tunnel may be monitored and modernized, but history rides with every truck that passes through. But fire is only one kind of horror. The next tunnel hides something colder, a real mass grave sealed away for decades. From a deadly alpine fire, we move to Slovenia, where a former mine tunnel became a place people still struggle to speak about. Number 6. Huda Jama Tunnel, Slovenia. Some tunnels feel haunted because of stories. Huda Jama feels haunted because of what was actually found inside. The tunnel is dark, damp, and heavy with silence. Cold moisture clings to the walls. The air feels trapped. Every sound seems to echo too long, as if the passage is refusing to let go of the past. Behind sealed barriers, investigators uncovered something far worse than a ghost story. They found human remains. Huda Jama began as a coal mine in Slovenia, but after World War II, it became the site of a mass killing and burial. More than 700 people, including prisoners of war and civilians, were executed and left inside. The entrance was sealed, and the horror remained hidden for decades. When the tunnel was opened in 2009, investigators discovered skeletal remains behind concrete barriers, with clothing and personal items still present. This is why Huda Jama stands apart from ordinary scary tunnels. The fear here is not imagination. It is memory. This is the kind of discovery that changes how a place feels forever. A tunnel is already frightening because it removes light and space. But Huda Jama removes something deeper. It removes the comfort of thinking darkness is empty. Here, darkness was used to hide history. Ghost stories may surround the tunnel now. People speak of whispers, footsteps, sudden cold spots, and a heavy atmosphere around the site. But even without any paranormal claims, the tunnel is disturbing enough. A place where people were sealed away in darkness does not need a legend to feel terrifying. Huda Jama is not just a spooky location for thrill seekers. It is a site of historical trauma. The people found there were not characters in a ghost story. They were real human beings, removed from history until the tunnel was reopened. That is what makes the place so unsettling. It forces the living to face what was buried. We're halfway through, and these tunnels have already taken us from cliffside roads to deadly fires and sealed mass graves. Which one would you refuse to enter first? Drop your answer before we reach number 1. Number 5. Malinta Tunnel, Philippines. The Malinta Tunnel is not just underground. It is buried inside one of the darkest chapters of World War II. On Corregidor Island, the tunnel cuts into the earth like a hidden military organ. Long passageways branch into side chambers. The walls are damp. The air is still. Footsteps seem to travel farther than they should. During the war, these corridors were filled with soldiers, wounded men, supplies, fear, and the constant threat of attack from above. Today, the tunnel is quieter, but quiet does not always mean peaceful. The Malinta tunnel was built by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers as an underground bunker and storage facility. During World War II, it became much more than that. It served as a bomb shelter, hospital, and command center during the Japanese invasion of the Philippines. Inside those passageways, people experienced battle, injury, death, and desperation. Later in the conflict, trapped Japanese soldiers reportedly detonated grenades inside rather than surrender. That gives the tunnel a heavy emotional weight. It is not scary because it is dark. It is scary because the darkness once held people at the edge of survival. Visitors and guides have reported screams, whispers, echoing footsteps, sudden temperature drops, and the feeling of being watched from empty corridors. Whether someone believes in ghosts or not, the setting itself is enough. A wartime hospital and bunker inside a mountain does not need much help becoming terrifying. Malinta Tunnel is now part historical site, part memorial, part psychological experience. It reminds visitors that underground spaces can protect people from bombs, but they can also trap fear, pain, and memory in ways that last long after the war ends. But war tunnels hold human fear from the past. The next tunnel creates fear in the present, every time a driver enters and realizes how far underground they really are. From a wartime bunker in the Philippines, we return to Switzerland for a tunnel so deep and long it feels like traveling beneath the weight of the world. Number 4. Gotthard Base Tunnel, Switzerland. This is the longest and deepest rail tunnel on Earth, and even if it is a masterpiece of engineering, your brain may not care. Outside, there are mountains, clouds, villages, and open air. Inside, there is a narrow world of artificial light, steel, concrete, and vibration. The train moves fast, but the tunnel keeps going. Minutes pass, still underground. More minutes pass, still no daylight. Above the passengers are thousands of feet of rock. That makes it one of the most impressive rail projects ever built. But psychologically, it is intense. Passengers are not just inside a tunnel. They are deep beneath a mountain system, moving through a hidden corridor with no natural light, no normal sense of direction, and no immediate connection to the outside world. You know the train is moving. You know the system is controlled. But the body feels one thing very clearly. There is a mountain above you. The journey through the tunnel can last more than 20 minutes. For some, that is just travel. For others, it is 20 minutes of trying not to imagine the weight of the Alps overhead. The Gotthard Base Tunnel changed European rail travel, making routes faster and more efficient. But it also shows the strange trade-off of modern engineering. To make travel smoother above ground, humans sometimes create routes so deep below ground that the experience becomes unsettling. But at least the Gotthard Base Tunnel is clean, modern, and controlled. The next one is older, rougher, darker, and known by a nickname that tells you everything. From a Swiss engineering marvel, we move to Massachusetts, where a tunnel earned the name the Bloody Pit. Number 3. Hoosac Tunnel, United States. When a tunnel is nicknamed the Bloody Pit, you already know the story behind it will not be clean. The Hoosac Tunnel stretches through the mountains of western Massachusetts, dark, long, and heavy with old industrial history. The stone and brick interior feels aged by more than time. Construction began in the 1850s, when tunnel engineering was far more dangerous than it is today. Workers faced explosions, cave-ins, toxic gas, and brutal conditions. Around 190 workers died during construction. That number is why the tunnel's nickname stuck. The worst incident came in 1867, when an explosion trapped 13 men in a vertical shaft. Their bodies were not recovered for months, and evidence suggested they may have survived for some time before running out of air. People have reported shadowy figures, unexplained voices, and sudden cold spots inside or near the tunnel. But once again, the real history is frightening enough. A place where men were trapped underground, alive in the dark, does not need much imagination to become terrifying. Hoosac Tunnel is a monument to the brutal cost of early infrastructure. Before modern safety standards, workers built impossible routes through mountains with tools, explosives, and risk levels that would be unthinkable today. But Hoosac was carved through a mountain. The next tunnel places drivers under something even more psychologically terrifying, a river. From the bloody pit of Massachusetts, we go to England, where drivers pass beneath the River Mersey in a tunnel that feels far longer when panic sets in. Number 2. Mersey Queensway Tunnel, England. This tunnel attacks one of the oldest fears in the human mind, being trapped beneath water. The Mersey Queensway Tunnel begins like a normal roadway. Then the entrance swallows the car. Concrete walls rise on both sides. Artificial lights repeat overhead. The sound of engines bounces from surface to surface until the tunnel becomes an echo chamber. And above all of it is the River Mersey, not beside you, not nearby, above you. A whole river separated from the roadway by concrete, engineering, and trust. Opened in 1934, the Mersey Queensway Tunnel connects Liverpool and Birkenhead with an underwater road tunnel about 3 miles long. Modern engineering considers it safe. It has carried traffic for generations. But fear does not always listen to statistics. For many drivers, the scariest part is not what is likely to happen. It is the awareness of where they are. There is limited space, limited escape, no easy way to turn around. And if traffic stops, the psychological pressure becomes much worse. You are not just in a tunnel. You are waiting inside a tube under a river. Some drivers experience intense panic inside tunnels like this, especially when traffic slows or stops. For local commuters, the Mersey Queensway Tunnel is part of daily life. For anxious drivers, it can feel like a personal trial. That contrast makes it fascinating. One person sees a route to work. Another sees a 3-mile underwater nightmare with no way to escape except forward. But number 1 is even worse because it combines history, darkness, water, death, and the feeling that the tunnel itself remembers everything. For the final tunnel, we return to a place where war turned an underground passage into a chamber of fear and memory. Number 1. Huda Jama Tunnel, Slovenia. Number 1 is Huda Jama Tunnel, not because it has the loudest ghost story, but because its horror is real, documented, and buried inside the earth. Imagine standing at the mouth of an old mine tunnel. The entrance is quiet, no traffic, no headlights, no modern rush, just a cold opening leading into darkness. The deeper you go, the more the air changes. Moisture beads on the walls. The floor feels still. Every sound returns in a distorted echo. Then you reach the barriers, concrete, sealed space, a place deliberately closed off from the world. Behind those barriers, investigators found human remains. Not one body, not a few, but hundreds. Huda Jama Tunnel began as a coal mine, but after World War II, it became the hidden resting place of people executed and sealed inside. The victims included prisoners of war and civilians. For decades, the site remained closed, hidden, and largely unspoken. When investigators opened it in 2009, they found more than 700 sets of remains behind concrete walls, along with scraps of clothing and personal belongings. This is the kind of discovery that changes how a place feels forever. A tunnel is already frightening because it removes light and space. But Huda Jama removes something deeper. It removes the comfort of thinking darkness is empty. Here, darkness was used to hide history. Ghost stories may surround the tunnel now. People speak of whispers, footsteps, sudden cold spots, and a heavy atmosphere around the site. But even without any paranormal claims, the tunnel is disturbing enough. A place where people were sealed away in darkness does not need a legend to feel terrifying. Huda Jama is not just a spooky location for thrill seekers. It is a site of historical trauma. The people found there were not characters in a ghost story. They were real human beings, removed from history until the tunnel was reopened. That is what makes the place so unsettling. It forces the living to face what was buried.